Good tech. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Argonauts Awoken. I am Mr. DMD, your DM here to lead you and our young recruits through our highly modified version of the 5th edition rule set for Dungeons and Dragons. Tonight, we move forward and witness the world after Halloween, the consequences of the actions and challenges that our recruits faced. As a quick recap for anyone who is just joining us or skipped our Halloween episodes, on the morning of Halloween, Haneta, the headmistress of the school, announced that students would be setting out into the Lake Tahoe community to protect against any evil that may arise, and that this was a school tradition. Our heroes costumed up and posed as trick-or-treaters with Hannah as their guide and ventured out. After an evening of mostly nothing, it was discovered that another team had gone missing, and Hannah led our recruits to the house that they were last heard from. Hannah fell for a trap, and our recruits proceeded through a house of fear and horrors tailored to their own personal fears to meet a pair of robed figures casting a dark spell. After a brief battle, both figures seemed to give up, and our heroes stood victorious. Or did they? Tonight, we jump forward to the next morning. But don't worry, many of your questions regarding that fateful night will be answered, but many more may arise. We begin. Last night, when you headed to your bed in your guild hall and climbed out of your clothes, the events of the evening weighed heavily upon you, slowing your movements. As the last drops of adrenaline flushed from your system, the weight changed to fatigue, and as you fell into bed, sleep came quickly. But it was not a restful sleep. Your sleep was racked with images of the evening you just had and one thing that you never saw. Several times over the course of the night, you awoke in a cold sweat after witnessing a vision of something you have never seen before. This vision was so real that it feels not like a dream, but like you are seeing something that you are meant to see or understand. Yet you still don't understand it after seeing it several times over the course of the evening. Between one of these visions, which you're still having a hard time remembering every time you wake up, I want to check in with each of you. Alaya, you've been having this same nightmare that you can't put your finger on. You wake up and it's like a fog as you wake up. How do you feel?
I feel like it's kind of annoying me a bit. I'm very over it. I'm still kind of in disbelief. I don't really think like I don't think it's supposed to mean anything. It's totally just a nightmare, right? But yeah, I'm not taking it too seriously.
Somewhere else in the Medusa Guild Hall, Zamora has just awoken again from a nightmare that you can't grasp, like trying to grab onto a handful of water. It just slips through your fingers. How do you feel being again woken up, maintaining this feeling of discomfort, but not able to recalling what's causing it?
I feel very confused because it's very much like deja vu. Like I feel like it's familiar, but I just can't place my finger on it, and I'm just too tired to like try to think it out.
Awesome. Great description. I like that. Thank you. Down in the lower levels of the school, in a place that's used to dark images and creepy thoughts, Stevie wakes up again from another version of this nightmare. It's drifting out of her head like smoke over a campfire. How do you feel, again, having woken up with this discomfort?
I think I'm probably at least doing a little better off than the others because I'm pretty used to nightmares, but for some reason, these ones just feel different. I'm used to being able to write them down in a dream journal or be scared of them later in the day, but I can't put my finger on what any of them are.
Luke, we haven't talked much about the guild hall for the Guild of the Dragon, but it's very much like a military barracks. And all of the members of the guild sleep together in one giant room in these old wooden handmade bunk beds. Do you sleep on the top or the bottom bunk?
Probably the bottom, because if I were to sleep on top, I might break something.
I like that image. So you wake up again, having had this same nightmare that you cannot remember, but you know the feeling when you wake up is exactly the same. It's this feeling of discomfort, and yet also you're seeing something more than just a memory or just a dream. What are you thinking in this moment?
As I'm waking up, I'm kind of like
embarrassed that I'm going through this, and like a couple tears kind of come to my eyes, but I wipe them away because I don't want to seem like anything other than strong in front of my guild mates. So I just kind of push the emotion away, and then I get back to my morning.
Well, we're not actually ready to get up yet. It's still very very early in your rest cycle. There's still plenty of sleep to have. So we're going to come back to that in just a second. Moon, in the guild of the, I'm sorry, brain farting there. Guild of the Flump. You wake up again, just like everyone else, trying to capture this runaway dream, these images that you can't quite remember. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling sort of nervous. Like Stevie, I'm used to nightmares, and I'm used to either not sleeping or just, very lucid dreams. So I'm kind of used to it, but this one does feel off because I can't remember it. And it's just, I feel like in the dream, I'm like actually there, and I feel like I've been there before.
Very good. Thank you. And Luna, you wake up from your very not restful sleep, having the same dream that everyone else has had multiple times. And you aren't aware of this. All you're aware of is that this repeated instance is happening, and you're not getting a good night's rest. What are you thinking?
One thing though, wait, I thought I didn't sleep. I do like an elf meditation.
You're right. That is very true. I'm sorry, I'd forgotten about that. You, instead of sleeping, we're doing what elves do, and that is you spend a very significant portion of your time in the evenings meditating. And instead of it being like a dream, it's like an image that keeps forcing its way into your meditation. So while you're trying to get this kind of restful Zen-like moment that recharges you every evening, instead this image is forcing itself into your brain. And it's having that same effect as everyone else's dreams. It's this very clear connection and feeling that this is not something you lived, but it is something that's really happened.
Well, this irritates me because usually I feel like I can kind of control what enters my mind when I'm meditating, but this is more difficult to push away. And I really don't want to admit it to anyone, but it frightens me a lot because I can't even grasp what it is and understand what it is so that I can't be scared of it anymore, because usually I like to be able to understand what I dreamt. Well, I don't dream anymore. And then, reassure myself that it's not scary and it's not going to bother me because it's just a dream or something in my head.
As you kind of solidify this thought and try to steal and settle your brain, you fall back into your meditation, and kind of simultaneously across the campus, all of you fall back into sleep in the hopes that you can get a few more hours of sleep before you wake up. And not too long after you fall into your sleep cycle, this vision returns. This time it's clearer, and you will remember it in the morning. In this vision, you are deep in the forest, but you can still see the House of Darkness from where you stand. It's from the back side of it. This location where you faced your fears last night stands in the distance. In the foreground, near where you're standing in the forest, a figure stands in a robe. This figure is taller than those that you witnessed in the attic, and it is clearly watching the house. You look upon this figure from behind and notice that the dark etching of his robe glows with a faint shadow light. Even unable to see the figure's face, you can feel a dark power unlike anything you have felt before, significantly stronger than the dark power you felt in the room where the spell was being cast even. The creature's head appears to raise, and they seem to be watching the window of the attic. Even from this distance, you can hear the sounds of battle very briefly. Then there's a flash of pink light on the outer roof, and a creature crawls away from the window. This tiny creature scurries down a post on the deck and quickly makes its way to the tree line, heading directly for the figure that you're watching. As the creature comes closer, you can make out in the moonlight its shape and appearance, and are instantly uncomfortable by it. It is the size of a large chihuahua. It has no noticeable head or face. Indeed, the creature appears to be nothing more than a brain that that has sprouted legs that look like they grow straight from the sides of it. All 4 legs look like a hybrid between bird's legs and bear's legs, and they are truly unnatural looking as they scurry toward the robed figure. The brain creature stops and nuzzles the ankle of the figure standing in front of you, and then climbs up the robe to perch on the figure's left shoulder, and then nuzzle again at the hood. The creature turns its head to look at the figure turns its head to look at the brain, while lazily it raises its right hand and pets the creature, and then it speaks. "What do you report, my pet?" There's a brief silence, and the hood snaps back to look at the window. "So my apprentice seems to have been bested by a group of children. Perhaps the darkness was foolish to have gifted the dark blessing on them." There is a silence again as the brain seems to wiggle and bounce a little. "Ah, I see. Then we shall see if that escape will pay off, and if they will prove themselves useful in the end." The brain hops down and scurries toward the house as the figure turns toward where you are watching and moves closer to you. At the same time, a cloud covers the moon, further hiding their face. Without turning again, the figure says, "No, we will not help the young one. If they are worthy of the dark blessing, then they need not our help. And if they are not worthy, then their death serves to silence them in protection of the darkness. Now come, we must collect your fellow spawn and see how the other locations fared this evening." Reluctantly, the brain creature falls in line behind the hooded figure, who speaks a guttural word and waves a purple hand with 4 fingers on it in between you and him. Suddenly blocking your view of him is a swirling pool of darkness. As you watch the brain creature start to climb up his leg into the area where you can't see him because of this darkness, you hear him say, "Let us hope at least one of our operations was successful, or it shall be another year until we can attempt to open the first seal again." As you come to this point in the dream again, you are snapped awake by your alarm. Except that now you remember everything you just dreamt. And the fact that you did not set an alarm last night. Yet there is one sitting on the table next to your bed. The digital clock reads 9 a.m. and there's a handwritten note in a firm, blocky print that says, "Your presence is commanded at a debriefing regarding the events of last night in the Grand Hall at 9:30. Do not be late." And it's signed, Headmistress Heneta Olympia. Zamora, what do you do when you see this?
I just hope that we're not expelled, to be honest with you, because when we got out of the house yesterday, she seemed kind of mad. So I just really hope we're not expelled, because the whole reason that I'm here is because Ray told me that she wanted me here. And if I'm expelled, I'm going to disappoint Ray so much. And I'm so scared to disappoint Ray.
Elia, what are you thinking when you see this?
I understand that what happened last night was an abnormality, to say the least. But I can't shake the feeling that it's 9 a.m. Please just let me sleep in. I don't want to do this.
It was a late night.
Yeah, and so my mind is just kind of going back and forth. I'm like, I don't want to go, but I know I have to, but I don't want to. But I reluctantly get ready to go.
Right. Stevie, what are you thinking when you see this?
I'm not too bothered by the timing, as I'm used to getting up pretty early for stuff with my dad, or at least I used to be pretty used to it. But I'm really just hoping there's some food or something. I haven't eaten in a while.
Luke, when your alarm goes off, you also wake up half of your barracks, and there's a lot of groans and mumbles and yells of, "Turn it off! I'm trying to sleep!" How do you react?
As soon as I wake up, I'm like startled because I've never had to set an alarm before, especially here. So I'm like, where did this come from? And I turn it off. And then I stare at the Viking helmet that I wore last night. And all of the events of everything just kind of wash through my head. And then I look across the room to make sure Pierre is still there. And then I start getting ready to go.
Pierre is definitely still there, sleeping or trying to sleep now that he's woken up. He's not too far from you, being a second year. The barracks are arranged by seniority. And he's nearby. Perfect. Moon, when you wake up, what are you thinking?
I immediately just want to ignore the alarm and go back to sleep and hope for a better dream. But once I see the note, I'm like, oh, great, I'm in trouble again because I've been expelled from countless schools. So I already know how the talk is going to go. So I'm just not looking forward to it.
And Luna?
I don't like this. I hate getting in trouble. I never get in trouble. I'm a good kid. I almost want to go and blame everyone, but I know that I was the one. But I know that I was a part of this, and I know that if I have to look if I want to look good, then I have to be there on time. So I immediately start getting ready, and I'll do anything to maybe like stop thinking about what I just dreamt.
Now, it is not a traditional school day. You are still on campus. You are free then to put on whatever you want to wear to this debriefing. Very quickly, what are you wearing? Luna, we were already talking with you. So what are you going to wear to this debriefing?
I know it's not a school day, but I'm going to wear my uniform because I need to look good in front of them. Sorry, maybe if I look good enough, then they'll pardon me and they'll make everyone else get in trouble. It'd be nice if Moon didn't get in trouble, but like.
Mentioning Moon, what are you going to put on as you get ready to go to this meeting with, at the very least, Hanata?
Oh, I dress up very nicely because if I'm getting expelled, I gotta at least be like, I gotta look formal, you know? I gotta at least try to earn back my character.
Cycling back through, Luke, what are you going to put on as you go to this meeting?
I like sleeping in my school uniform, which as on top of like my button up and everything is my light armor. I just feel more comfortable that way. So that's what I'm going to wear.
Cool. I love it. Stevie, you have the shortest walk to get to the guild hall. What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not changing. I'm staying in my pajamas.
I love it.
Just like old band t-shirt, oversized fuzzy pajama pants. I'm like, I don't think we're in trouble. That's not the vibes I got from that note. So I think it's pretty safe to just dress comfortable.
Oh, Medusas tend to have a slightly longer walk. So what are you doing to prepare to go to the guild hall this morning?
Still too early. I don't care that it's a long walk. I'm just keeping on my pajama pants, throwing on a t-shirt, and I'm just gonna try to really quickly shave most of my beard so that it doesn't annoy me.
You have a full beard at this point because you slept, and it's been it's longer than mine at this point, so it's going to take you a minute.
I have just full scissors. I just have scissors.
just cut it down, just cut a chunk of it off. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Zamora, take us home. What are you wearing as you get ready to go to this very potentially important debriefing?
I have this really, really big jacket that I stole from someone in the Guild of the Dragon, like a really big sweatshirt. So it's like really comfy. It's just huge on me. And then I wear like leggings and some sneakers to be comfortable.
All right. You arrive all kind of staggeredly at the lodge and find a note in Henata's handwriting that states on the front door, lodge closed to debriefing invitees only. Meals will be served in the arena today. You have not eaten, but you can smell the cooking coming from the kitchen, which is also in the lodge. You move through the doors to the lobby, or the kind of general meeting room inside the front of the lodge, where Lex and Xavier stand. As you arrive, they make Lex makes a motion to check off your names off the list and tell you that you can head in to the Grand Hall. They do not appear interested in talking to you beyond that. They both look very tired and are actually still dressed in their Halloween costumes from last night. Xavier's head is now half shaved, in that there is a star shaved. He wears leather pants and chains, making himself look like a significantly grungier version of some glam rock star from the 80s. Lex wears a tweed blazer, a dress shirt, matching pants, a red bow tie, and a red fez. They stand there looking tired and about ready to fall asleep on their feet. They're not stopping you. They're literally just like, Guildhall, that's where you need to go. Anyone stopping to talk to them, or based on their stature, you can tell it would be bug them.
I'm not talking to him.
Alaya, nope, not going to do it. I love it. You all then head into the guild hall. You enter the grand hall, and all but 3 tables have been removed from the hall. The table at the top of the 2 stairs at the end of the grand hall, the teacher table, remains, along with another long table facing it about 5 feet from the bottom of the stairs, with a bench for all of you to sit at. Along the right wall, about 10 feet from the table facing the stairs, is another long table set out with some pastries, some fruit, some water, and some coffee. What do you do when you enter the room?
Pastries and coffee.
You're going to sit down after you grab that, or are you going to hang out by the table?
I'm hanging out by the table. I don't want to be the first to sit down.
Perfect.
I'm going to grab some coffee, and then I'm just going to go sit down.
All right.
I'm going to grab like 5 pastries and like an apple.
An apple. Oh, the 5 pastries and an apple. You grab anything to drink?
Coffee gets me too hyped up, so maybe like some water.
It's in bottles, so you grab a bottled water and sit down.
I'm gonna get 1 pastry, and then my coffee is gonna be like 75% creamer, like 20% or 25% actual coffee. I'm gonna go sit down next to Alaya, but like my head's going down the table because I'm so tired.
Barely awake is a very loose term for how you are now. I think.
Right.
Beautiful. Our Flump invitees, how are you approaching the room when you come in?
I go and get like 1 pastry, and then I sit down. Like I feel bad for eating almost, but I don't. Yeah, I try to get food as quickly as I can, and then sit down.
I go and I get 2 cups of coffee for myself, and I double fist it because I'm so exhausted, and and then I go and sit next to Luna. I drink it black, no creamer, because I'm dark and mysterious that way. So yeah, 2 cups of coffee.
As you're sitting down with your 2 cups of coffee, a few moments have passed, and you're all in the room now, and you notice a tired-looking Jade enter the room. She's wearing last night's clothing and looking like she slept in it, and she wanders in without saying a word or removing her sunglasses. She also pours herself 2 cups of black coffee and takes them to the table at the head of the room, places them on the table, and then sits in a chair, puts her feet on the table, and leans back, cradling her coffee and letting her hot hair fall in front of her face, which is a heck of a trick because it has to actually fall past the horn to fall in front of her face. You can tell she's rehearsed at doing this. This is a very much a like, don't bug me body language. A few moments after that, Raketti and Tara enter, both looking significantly more rested than Jade. Tara is in her usual hiking shorts and Flump flannel, and her braided hair looks still moist from a recent washing. And for the first time ever, you see Raketti is not wearing their usual blazer and tie. Instead, they wear their khakis and a blue dress shirt, but the sleeves are rolled up, revealing more of their hieroglyphic tattoos. Both move to grab some small plates of food and their own coffee. Raketti pouring just a little cream into theirs, and Tara sprinkling some cinnamon and milk into hers. They sit at the opposite end of the table from Jade, giving her plenty of room. After a few more moments, Ferg enters in a huff, his boots clomping on the wooden floor of the grand hall, and he is mumbling to himself, clearly not happy to be here. He walks by the food table, grabs a bottle of water, and jams a whole bagel into his mouth. He then flops down loudly into a chair near the middle of the table, on the top of the steps, between Jade on his left and Tara and Raketti on his right. Finally, Rad and Henita arrive. They both already carry their own cups of coffee and walk straight to the table, stopping at it with their backs to you. Henita passes out folders to all the teachers, and they begin a brief conversation. At this point, does anyone do or say anything?
I'm gonna just be like, do you still need us? Or are you just gonna talk amongst yourselves?
Very clearly, Henita just holds up one finger and like doesn't even turn her back, giving you the like just 1 second sign.
I laugh at Alaya.
This
I glare
laugh
at him.
echoes in this empty room, and it very much breaks the tension for some of you. And from Tara, she leans out to look past Rad at you and gives you a look, and then leans back into the conversation.
I immediately stop laughing.
I am back asleep.
Did the laugh wake you up at all?
It kind of like, you know, when you're like half asleep, half awake, and you're like, what? But then I just went right back.
Did it fold in
Woke up
your dream?
again.
Was like a character laughing in your dream?
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm gonna look up from a mouthful of pastry and be like, "Hi, Ferg."
And he gives you a look like, boy, not now. He looks grumpy, and I understand I'm describing a dwarf as I say this, and that's kind of funny, but he does look grumpy. It is the best description of him right now. Luna, are you going to do anything? Everyone else has kind of shared something at this point.
I'm terrified. I'm not speaking. I'm not saying a word. I probably like glared at Alaya when he said that because, dude, are you kidding me?
I'm with Luna. I'm just like putting my head down on the table. Like this is supposed to be some kind of serious thing, and everyone's like laughing and yelling at the teachers. And I'm just like, oh my God.
After a few moments of Stevie's embarrassment, the room settles to silence again. You cannot hear what the teachers are saying, but their conversation also seems to wrap up, and their folders have been passed out amongst them. Rad has taken a seat next to Ferg, between Ferg and Tara, giving plenty of open seats between all of them and Jade. Henita stands in the front of the table, addressing you all, and says, "We are awaiting one more, and then we shall begin." And then she goes and sits at the end of the table next to Jade, who gives her a look from behind her sunglasses and returns to her cup of coffee. You sit in a very tense silence for what seems like a very long time, but it was more than likely only a few very short moments, when both of the doors to the grand hall open, and for the first time since you left the House of Darkness, you see Hannah. She is being wheeled in a wheelchair by Reaper. Hannah's right leg is in a cast all the way up beyond her kneecap. She wears pajama bottoms in the Medusa colors, with the right leg cut off to accommodate her cast, and an older-looking Guild of the Lich hoodie that has a few holes and some wear along the cuffs that is about 2 sizes too large for her. This, combined with Reaper's size behind her, makes her look much smaller and weaker than you have ever seen her. She has various scrapes on her face, and as you look harder, you notice that she has worked to cover a brace on her left arm with the oversized sweater. Her hair is up in a greasy, unwashed, messy bun, and her tired eyes sit behind her glasses, which Alaya and Zamora both know she only wears when she's not training at all, which is very rare. Reaper wheels her in slowly, being careful of every bump in the floor. She too looks like she has not slept much since last night and still wears the dress pants and dress shirt of her costume from yesterday, both covered with various dark spots that are likely to be both dirt and blood. Elia, this is the first time you have seen your guild captain since last night. We'll get into what you saw last night in just a few moments, but how do you feel seeing this vision of her?
I see her and I do a little bit of a double take and I'm like, oh my. I feel like I want to say something, but at the same time, I kind of just got silently yelled at by the other teachers. And also, Hannah doesn't look like she's in very much of a mood to talk. So I probably just let out a little bit of like and then I hold myself back.
Zamora, the only change in this room has become the fact that the door's open, which wasn't extremely loud, and the room has gotten extremely quieter. Do you even wake up?
I don't. I'm knocked out. I'm so tired from the night before.
Awesome. Let's go to Stevie next, who is the most closely connected to Reaper. How do you feel when you see this vision walk into the room?
It's so weird. Like yesterday, they were these two badass guild captains who were just so much stronger and cooler than me. And now they look so dejected and hurt. And as they walk by, I think I'm just going to give Reaper a polite smile, but I'm not going to say much more because I'm starting to learn to read social cues and it doesn't seem like the right time to say anything.
Luke, what are your thoughts as you see them walk in?
I set down the pastry that I have in my hand and I'm speechless. I'm just staring.
Moon?
I'm kind of speechless too. I don't really know what to do, so I just kind of drink my coffee and I don't know how to cope with it. So I'm just kind of sitting there.
And Luna?
Oh God, I don't believe what I'm seeing. I try not to stare. I can't believe that. These are people I know. Last time the wolf attack, I didn't really know, but these people.
You know them now. So as you all watch, or try not to watch, Reaper wheels Hannah to the end of your table that you are all now seated at or standing near, and remains behind Hannah, her hands still on the wheelchair's handles. After a moment of waiting and looking at Reaper, Hannah says, "Thank you, Reaper, for helping Ms. Thomas to the debrief. You are dismissed." In the firmest voice you have ever heard her use, Reaper says, "With all due respect, headmistress, no. The last time I left her, she got hurt, and I am not about to let you run all over these students without being present." Shocked, Hannah looks at Rad and says, "She's your guild captain. Get your house in order, Mr. Tepps." Rad then steps forward, and his voice is as cold and serious as death when he says, "Reaper, your headmistress has given you an order. You are aware of the consequences you risk by defying her, but as guild leader, I'll add one more. If you do not leave this minute, I will strip you of your guild captain title, and there will be no leadership for you. That would be tragic, because then there would be 2 new guild captains to announce at this evening's meal." Do any of you say anything at this point?
I'm leaning over to Elia, who's also in guild with Medusa, and I'm like, did he just say that Hannah's not going to be captain anymore?
This isn't too good. Hey, come on, just let her be here.
As you see this, Jade, who hasn't moved or said a word, says, "Best you keep your traps shut, children. The adults are talking now."
Oh, come on.
I woke
Never
up.
mind.
I woke up while someone was speaking. I didn't hear anything, but all I heard was new guild captains. And I kind of look up at the stage and I see Hannah and I'm like, wait, what? And I see Reaper and I'm like, what is going on? And I hear Stevie talk to Alaya, and I kind of put it to the pieces together. So when Jade speaks, I'm like, whoa, what is going on?
When I hear,
go ahead. No, go ahead. Please do.
When Jade says that, I start getting angry again. So my hands are kind of on the table as I kind of turn to look at all the adults. And then I say, look, the last time we tried to let adults handle things, well, look, you know what happened. This is what happened. And I kind of put an arm out to Hannah. So maybe like treat us like we're kind of equal, you know?
Adding on to that, I'm like, we went through some stuff last night. The least you guys could do is be a little nice to us.
As you two say this, Ferg speaks. He says, "That's right, boyo, you tell him." And then Ricchetti stands, holds out his hands in a very peaceful, calming gesture, and says, "Now, I think it's important we all establish that we're here to find out exactly what happened last evening. And we all take a breath, or else this morning is going to be very challenging." And then he looks to Rad and says, "Mr. Tepps, can you calm this situation a little?" Rad says nothing and stares directly at Reaper, who starts to say, "I don't care." Hannah touches Reaper's hand on the handle of her chair, and Reaper freezes. Hannah says, "Go. I'll be fine. I'm safer here, and there is not much worse that they can do tonight than what Francois did last night." Reaper grits her teeth. Her hands clutch into fists, and she sets her face in a determination that you all instantly recognize is one of the faces you saw last night after the darkness fled. And now we move into our first flashback. And to help our audience understand when we're flashbacking and when we're not flashing back, we're going to switch to a fancy black and white filter. This will be significantly more seamless in the future, but I wanted to point it out right now because it could be jarring for some of you. So we flash back to the moment after the two hooded figures fell. There is the body of one lying at Luke's feet and another on the ground near Alaya. You are back in the candlelit room where the darkness spell was being cast. Alaya, you can clearly see Pierre in front of you, whose hands you've just untied. All the bodies around the room that were previously catatonic have begun to stir, and the light in the room glows a little brighter. The rest of you all stand still near the stairs that you came up. What did you do in these first moments after these figures fell? Several of you saw some things that others didn't see. There was definitely a whole lot going on in that room, and it was too much for any of you to see all of. So, Luke, what did you do in those first moments?
In those first moments, I think I was just really confused. Just trying to take in whatever I could. I saw a brief flash of, I think, pink light behind the hooded figure, and I heard the sound of a creature outside.
Was that outside on the roof?
It was on the roof.
As you're contemplating this moment, trying to process everything that you saw and you heard, Alaya, with Pierre at your feet, what are you doing?
I immediately turn back to the rest of this party, and I say, "Come on, get over here. Help me untie these guys." I'll process what I saw later, but I just need to help these people right now.
Totally understandable. So you go into action, beginning to untie and wake up Pierre, and then kind of help all the other people in the room. I'm sorry. I'm also secretly messaging everyone things right now, so I'm juggling a couple of layers here. Stevie, what are you doing in these first few moments after it appears that you've won?
I'm mostly focused on the big cloud of darkness that's just kind of leaving, and most of me feels really excited about it. I'm obviously confused, but for the most part, I'm feeling like, yeah, we did it. But for some reason, somewhere like deep inside of me, there's a part of me that's almost sad it's leaving.
How do you feel?
I feel guilty about it. I don't know why I'm feeling upset that this thing is leaving, but I almost feel like I'm like mourning.
Does that scare you?
Yeah, a lot.
As Stevie processes her very complex emotions right now, Luna, what are you doing?
I was worried that it wasn't completely gone, but when it left, I could definitely feel like the energy of the spell leaving, and I could kind of feel like this balance coming back, which was strange. But I've learned to kind of sense that kind of stuff now. I almost feel. Oh, do you want to?
No, you go ahead. You're on a track. Go for it.
Oh, I almost feel kind of bitter about it though, because I want to know, because there's obviously a bigger part of this, and I feel like this ended too soon. I want to stop it at the root of the problem, and I really need to know where this is all coming from.
As you contemplate that, you definitely do feel that balance between nature and like unnatural things within yourself reach an equilibrium again. And we switch to Moon. After this instant, this moment of seeming victory, what are you doing?
As soon as it happens, like the first thing I can think is like, did we win? Like that's all I can think about. And then I notice that Poison flies over to the window and starts like tapping at it. And
this is the window nearest to Luke?
Yeah, it's near Luke. And so she went over and started tapping at it like a cat would, like and I noticed a pink light outside of where she's looking, and I see this like creature run past very quickly. Like I can't really make out what it was, and it runs along the roof, and it ran into the direction of the forest.
And lastly, Zamora, as you stand there watching the bodies fall and your friends go into action, what are you doing?
Honestly, the inner strength in myself, like my inner faith, has just really strengthened throughout this whole thing. Seeing that we defeated them, like I could feel that the darkness is gone. But something in my cleric classes I've been having difficulty with has been like trying to figure out the difference between darkness and death. But seeing the skeletons come alive, it really showed me that like there's ambitions of both darkness and death, and that there is a difference between the two. So I'm just really just in my own head, just really absorbing everything and taking it in.
You're processing some understanding of knowledge now, which is exciting. As you all are processing this, we know Elia is working on Pierre and helping some of the other people in the room. You also still have the bodies of these two people, we'll call them people because you don't know what they are, lying in the room. So there's going to be a few moments here before anything else happens where you're left kind of to your devices in this room. So what are you doing?
Well, once I untie Pierre, I kind of help him up, and I try to see if he's awake, shake him around a little bit.
He's he's awake. He's very disconnected from the moment. He seems like he's just woken up from a really weird dream. He's kind of mumbling. He doesn't have much that he's coherently saying. More like, after someone has a nightmare and they're talking about something you can't understand. And most of what you get out of what he's saying is things about like darkness and he was so afraid, that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
First thing I'm gonna do is like run over to where Pierre is, and just kind of wrap him in a hug, just to kind of solidify that he's like actually there and I'm not just seeing things.
He is very solid and very tiny in your very large 7-foot frame because he's only about 3 feet tall. And so you very easily envelop him. And he kind of like, I don't want to say snuggles, but he definitely kind of like curls in and you can tell that he feels safe. And some of that kind of fearful mumbling and shaking that he was doing subsides a little and his breathing kind of regulates back to normal.
I'm kind of like, I'm like scared and I don't really know what to do. So I go towards someone I know and I go to Luna and I kind of just like hug her unexplainably. Like I've never done that before. I'm not a people person, but I go over to Luna and I just hug her and I'm just like, dude, like I can't describe like how I'm feeling right now. And I'm just so stressed. So I just kind of stay there and I hug her for a bit and I'm just a little tiny gnome hugging.
I sometimes forget you're a gnome. It's adorable, this image I have in my head of the two of you. Luna, how do you react to this?
Oh, I needed this. I didn't realize I needed it, but it kind of grounds me a little, and I hold on to the moon. I'm like, are you okay? Oh.
And you're all beginning to process kind of the events of what you just literally fought through when outside you hear voices. These voices are hurried. They're slightly elevated and excited. And anyone who decides to move to a window to see what this is sees that Reaper has arrived in the Land Cruiser and is talking onto a radio. The radio is clearly turned up very loud at this point because you're hearing the other side, but it's mostly a mumbled kind of hard to hear radio. And as you look out the window, she actually spots you and literally runs up the wall of the house to the roof landing and then dive rolls through the window into the room you're all in. And she comes up out of the roll onto her feet, ready to fight. And all she says is, "Where's Hannah?" As she does a quick head check to notice that she's the only one of your group missing.
They took her. Iris went to go get her and we came in here.
Which way?
In the basement, down the stairs.
Yeah.
And as soon as she hears this, she grits her teeth, her hands clench into fists, and she sets her face in determination. She rushes off down the stairs, and you hear the several loud bangs, and then a crunch, and her footsteps again, as if she just beat her way through that door and was headed to the next door. And that is where we'll take an early bio break tonight because it's a perfect place, and we'll come back into the interrogation room. You shake the memory of last night from your head and watch as Reaper loosens her jaw and her fists. Hannah gives her hand a gentle squeeze, and Reaper bends down and gives the injured Medusa a gentle kiss on her forehead, whispering, "I'll wait for you outside," before turning on her heel and leaving. Hannah waits until the doors at the end of the hall latch with a sound very definitive and that you have never heard before in the space that is usually filled with many, many more people. Then she speaks. "We are here this morning to assess what happened last night, who is responsible for the insubordination, and what consequences you all should face for your actions." At this, there is a humph from Ferg as he chugs his water bottle, visibly angry. Henita gives him a serious look and continues. "This sort of debrief is customary whenever there is any sort of violence involving our Argonauts, but especially when there is defiance of a direct order. At this point, several things are going to proceed unless you speak up or say anything. And Elia, I did see you just unmute, so go ahead.
I'm pretty sure it's it's better when we defy an order than to have people die. So I think we did some good.
And you hear an affirmative noise, not so much a laugh or a yes, but definitely a noise that seems to concur with you from Ferg, in which Henita sends him another look. And she'll hold out her hand and say, we will all have our chance to speak. But first, we must set the narrative and determine the timelines. We will ask our questions, and then you will be able to speak freely. It is customary before we begin for a member of the staff to read the infraction to the committee and the rule breakers. As none of you are his students or students of the Sphinx, it is most fair for Rocchetti to lead this. He will be taking over from this point. And at this, Henita goes and sits down. At this, Ferg stands. All right, we've got and heard about enough of this. These students here are heroes. They saved the group that went missing, discovered what we haven't been able to learn about in months, and managed to do it with only minor injuries to themselves. We should be giving them badges of honor, not discipline hearings. This is disgusting, and it's an abomination.
Yeah, guys, come on.
Really?
Isn't the whole point of this school to train us to help people? That's what we did.
They all listen to you. And Tara nods and says, Ferg, calm your rage. There are those of us that agree with you and those that don't. But we are here to decide as a group. First, we have to learn everything we can. At this point, Jade and Rad have remained where they are, and Henita has stayed in her seat at the end of the table, watching all of this play out. Ferg fumes a little more, then pounds on the table, drinks the rest of his water, and sits again. Ricchetti rises, picks up a piece of paper from his folder, and reads it. The current infraction stands as such. Argonaut Hannah Thomas stands suspect of violating a direct order from her superior, resulting in her own injuries and the direct threat to the lives of the recruits put in her charge. The recruits stand suspect of breaking ranks and following a leader who is in direct defiance of an order. Our purpose here is to learn the events of the evening and decide consequences, if any, of your actions. Are there any questions regarding the infractions? He waits. You all seem to nod in agreement. Ferg says, Oi, except that they're BS. Hanita for the first time, stands, adjusts herself, and says, Ferg, if you cannot contain yourself, we will ask you to leave. Luke, you recognize what it looks like when a barbarian is trying to calm their rage. And you see that this is exactly what he's trying to do. All of the techniques at this point that he has trained you to do, he is now doing. Deep breathing, closing his eyes, setting himself. Finally, he takes one last big breath and sits down. Hanita attempts to stand. No, I'm sorry. Misspoke. As all of this arguing is continuing and starts to settle, Hannah attempts to stand and then stumbles back into her chair, her skin going a ghostly pale color. Watching this, your mind wanders back to the moment she was pulled from the House of Darkness. And we flash back again. Oh no, I clicked the wrong button. Video filters, super fun in it. It is last night again, and somehow you have made it down to street level. You stand next to Reaper's Land Cruiser, and you watch as Reaper carries Hannah out of the house, her body limp and lifeless, her skin a ghostly pale white color. Hannah's blonde hair is caked with dirt and muck, and she is cut in places, and her leg is twisted at an odd angle. Reaper carries her lifeless form like a child, and she seems even smaller and so weak. Nothing like the bold leader you knew her just hours before. Reaper's near 7-foot frame carries Hannah all the way to the car. She opens the back of the SUV and lays Hannah down, pulling out some first aid kit. And she climbs in alongside Hannah and begins to administer basic first aid. She begins to mumble over and over her to herself, "Be okay, Hannah, be okay, be okay." And she's just working and using this as a mantra. What do you do as you watch this?
Well, first of all, where's Iris?
Oh, Iris is coming. You look back and you can see that how they got out actually wasn't through the front door as you thought, but they actually came back out of the trap door, and Iris is still climbing up that ladder, making her way to you all.
I want to help. I think I have some knowledge of healing.
You do. And I believe you may, I believe you may even have a healing spell too.
I do. I have cure wounds, I think.
Yes.
Wait, let me check now.
Which, if you would like to do, you can go ahead and do. In fact, I believe that involves a roll when you cast that spell to see exactly how much you're able to heal Hannah for.
Is Reaper okay with me doing this?
Reaper's not going to stop anyone who seems to know what they're doing.
Okay.
And she would recognize very quickly someone who's trying to cast a healing spell.
Okay, I'll roll for that. Hang on, I need to open my sheet. What do I roll?
For cure wounds, that is a D8. I know this off the top of my head because I've cast that spell or been with people who have cast that spell many a time. D8 is an 8-sided die for our viewers at home.
I rolled a 3.
Wonderful.
That?
And I don't think
it says ability modifier. I don't know what that would be.
That would be for you as a druid is going to be your wisdom modifier.
Yes, thank you. Okay, that's 5.
So you're going to heal her for 5 healing points. That's pretty significant. It's not going to be able to make her conscious at this point. She's dealing with a lot of things just beyond the injury. But you watch as some of the minor scrapes and cuts on her, heal themselves. Yours is nature magic. So it's not magic. It's actually like you are channeling the healing powers within her body to expedite them, to make them go faster. And so she looks healthier. She's still unconscious. Her leg is still broken. But you get the sense that her breathing's starting to settle. She's better. She's not by any means great, but she's definitely better. Anybody else going to do anything?
I'm also next to them. I was there before Luna because Hannah's like an older sister to me. She's always been an older sister to me. I also cast Cure Wounds and I rolled a 5.
Wonderful. Is that with your bonus?
No, I don't. Is my bonus wisdom?
Wisdom also, yeah, as a cleric.
Okay. With my bonus, it would be an 8.
Okay. So you cast the spell and watch as her eyes kind of flutter like she's trying to wake up. And she does for a moment, and then she kind of falls asleep. So you kind of manage to pull her out of her unconscious like coma state, but she's so racked with just adrenaline and the injuries and everything else that she falls back asleep because she needs the rest. So she's more now in a healing rest as opposed to an unconscious state. And when she does this, Reaper kind of like clutches her and is now holding her to not just protect her, but you can see just be kind of closer to her, the person who she cares about, who's now injured in front of her. As the rest of you work and watch, several things begin to happen very quickly. A red-tailed hawk flies in from the sky and lands on the ground between you all and the house. And then a chestnut brown stallion comes running in from the tree line and stands next to it. They both shimmer in the dim light and their forms shift. To that, the hawk shifts to the image of Terra, clad in scaled green armor, her braid tight and down her back, and a very modern-looking spear in her right hand. Next to her, the stallion has taken the shape of another brown-skinned elf, this one with slightly more tan skin and hair the color of summer wheat, in a poncho that looks like it's made of horse hides and pants of a similar make. They stand and they twist the end of their quarterstaff into the ground. Luna, you recognize this person as Dakota, your druid training instructor, who is a very soft-spoken person, but also extremely serious. And the two of them take up a position clearly defending you all from anything that may come out of this house. Did you do anything in this moment? This is your flashback. As you watched them, did you do anything?
I'm busy worrying about Hannah, I think.
As you all continue to watch and worry about your friend, a topless 4-door Jeep speeds down the street and a team of 8th year students hop out. You recognize Clara in her shining scalloped armor with her shield and sword bracelet still on her wrist. The other 3 you are not familiar with. One wears a Guild of the Medusa cloak with its hood up and wields a suppressed bolt-action rifle, has a rapier strapped to his back, and several daggers of various sizes and styles on his left thigh. Another hops out, and she is dressed in a full Charo outfit, complete with metal buckles, spurs, and guitar. The weaving of her coat and pants seems to shimmer gold in the moonlight as if enchanted. She pulls her guitar from around her back and begins to tune and strum a few chords. You all catch a glimpse of her, and her reptilian eyes shimmer in the moonlight as she walks by, and you recognize her as a Yanti, a race you recently learned in Racketti's class was native to the region that is now Central America. Finally, the last member steps out. She is small and thin for a half-orc, with shorter canines than you've seen on most, dressed in blue jeans and a long black coat with a black turtleneck on underneath. The coat's pockets are filled with papers and small notebooks. She has several other books strapped in handmade holsters along her waist, her hips, her outer thighs. As she joins the team, she pulls out a long, narrow piece of wood, about 2 feet long, with a diameter of about $1. The wood is carved with various runes and sigils and glows with a blue arcane light as she points it at the house. As the team approaches Tara and Dakota, they stand firm. The only acknowledgement being Tara saying, "Go, clear the building, and then raise it. Nothing on this site sees daylight." With that, the team rushes the building. As you watch them enter like a trained strike team, you hear the front doors of the Jeep shut, and Jade and Henita approach the Land Cruiser where you all are. Does anyone do anything now?
Are the people like Pierre? Is he safe and out, or is he still?
They're still upstairs, but you've overheard the team as they were going in talk about that. That's where they were going first. They were going to sweep up and then bring that group out.
Okay.
Oh god, that's Henita. Oh, sorry, you want to keep going alive?
No.
Okay, I hope Henita didn't see me cast that Cure Wounds spell and try to look good, even though I'm, like, scared out of my mind.
I give them the dirtiest look ever, because how are they going to show up now after everything happened, after we already saved everyone, after Hannah's already out of the basement? Like, them being there serves no purpose to us. Like, we're already hurt. We already went through all that pain. Like, I'm just mad at them right now.
This is only a look. Do you say anything?
No, I don't, because I'm focused on Hannah and casting the spell.
Perfect.
I'm watching this and I'm really wishing I would have taken a class or two with Tara and gotten some healing spells so I could help.
Reaper has taken to cradling Hannah's head in her lap and gently petting her hair while humming, having tended to her wounds as much as she can, and you all could. Hannah lies now consciously sleeping, looking weak and helpless in her current state. Hannah sees this and says, "Jade, see to your guild captain. Recruits, step over to the jeep, please."
I'm still clutching Pierre tightly as I start heading towards
Yeah, I do think Pierre's the only one of that group that is out, because I think you've been carrying him the whole time. Jade takes one look at Reaper and Hannah and tells Reaper, "Reaper, go get my guitar from the back of the jeep." The only response from Reaper Jade gets is a growl deep in her dragonborn throat and a look that says she will not move, that Jade is going to have to fight her to leave. Jade looks around, looks at Zamora.
Oh, sorry.
And says, "Zamora, go get my guitar from the back of the jeep." Because you know exactly what it looks like.
I give her also a dirty look, and I kind of like a breath, but she's my guild leader. Sorry, she's my guild leader. So I don't say anything. Like, I'm not going to mess with that.
Cool.
Go get her guitar.
I'm glad you went over there, because you're going to get a little gift here. I'm going to narrate this for everyone, though, because I'm going to assume you're going to tell them. Zamora, you went over to the Jeep that evening, and you overheard on the radio in the back seat of the Jeep the following interaction. You hear someone say, "Sweeper Team 3 to Lodge. Reporting an all clear at our site. Repeat, all clear." The radio then calls back from the lodge. "Sweeper Team 10-4, Lodge to Sweeper Teams. This is our final all clear. Return to base. Sweeper Teams 1 through 5 are all clear and return to base." Good job.
I hear that, and then I grab the guitar, and I'm like, okay, whatever. And I grab the guitar, and I go back to Jade.
As you hand the guitar to Jade, she sits down on the back bench of the Land Cruiser, kind of with the tailgate open. And Reaper continues to cradle Hannah's head, and Jade sits and begins to play a song. It is both beautiful and haunting. And as Jade plays her guitar, Hannah begins to glow with a gentle, warm red light. And as she finishes, Hannah stirs again. She opens her eyes, looking up to see Reaper in the most kind of conscious state that Hannah has been since she's been pulled out of the building. You can watch as Reaper's own eyes gloss over, and she smiles, relief lifting off of her shoulders. Hannah then addresses the group again, drawing your attention to her. "Recruits, let us give the 3 of them a moment. Hannah still has much healing to do, and I suspect Jade has much to say to the brash young assassin. Please follow me to the jeep."
Yes, ma'am.
I silently follow her.
Thank you.
Same.
Whatever, man.
The Jeep is about 20 feet away from the Land Cruiser. And when you get there, Hanata pauses, looks you all over, and speaks firmly but gently, her voice carrying the authority of her station, but the understanding and pride of a parent whose children just tried their very best. It has been a long night for you all. It would be understandable that you all have questions that you want answered, but we must tend to our wounded and cleanse the site. As there are no classes tomorrow, we will debrief in the morning. Wait here. When Jade is done seeing to Miss Thomas's injuries, she will drive you back to the academy. I must go assist in the cleansing of the site. Hanata moves, unless stopped, to head to the house.
Hey, what does cleansing mean?
She turns back to you and says, in instances like this, the safest bet and assurance that there will be no more trouble is fire.
Okay. Yeah, I'll shut up now.
Wonderful. And as you all remember, Hanata's voice sharing this moment with Alaya, you realize that her real voice is addressing you once again as Hannah sits in her wheelchair. And we come back to real time. Hanata's saying, Miss Thomas, did you really have something you wish to say? You needn't stand. I think the whole committee understands if you wish to remain seated. Hannah attempts to sit a little straighter up in her chair and says, I only wish to say that I accept full responsibility for the events of last night, and I ask that the committee not hold these recruits responsible for my poor decisions. As she says this, there are whispers and turns of heads amongst the guild leaders in response to this.
Okay, I'm terrified of getting in trouble, but I don't know if I can stand this. This does not seem fair for Hannah to get in trouble. So I'm like shaking, but I stand up and I say, we agreed to this, or at least I did. I wanted to do this.
We all agreed to this.
Hannah barely even did anything. She fell in a hole.
Yeah, it was kind of my fault. I kind of made everyone go.
No, actually,
We all
if anything, it's the adults' fault. You guys raised us these 3 months to be heroes, and then you turn around and get mad at us when we're actually doing what we were supposed to do. You cannot blame any of us. Any of us. You guys told us to do patrol. Guess what we did? We did patrol. You cannot get mad at us. This is not fair to anyone in any way, shape, or form. That's just not okay.
We saved that entire South team with no adults present.
As you all begin to share your story, you can see that they're listening. They're all honestly listening. And at this break in the conversation, Hanata speaks, and you can tell she's marking her words. She says, Hannah, your comment is admirable and a true sign that you have the markings of a great leader. We will take what you said into consideration. However, we cannot just dismiss these issues without getting the statements. So, recruits, you've already begun telling us your thoughts. We ask first that you tell us the events of the evening. What happened from the moment Hannah was given her order to the moment we found you all?
Luke, you want to handle this?
Sure. Well, what happened was we were finishing up our patrol at the end of the night, and then we started off seeing the other group or team or something on the other side, and they weren't there when we came back. And so then Hannah got an order, I think, saying like, yo, come back. And then she turned off her radio. But that's not her fault for wanting to help.
Yeah, and then like we got to the house where they said that the team went missing. Hannah fell into a hole that opened up. And then I think we all eventually decided that we had to go in and save her somehow, and the other team too. And then when we got inside, have you guys ever seen like the movie Saw? You ever seen that? He was like, he was, whoever was controlling the whole thing was like playing a game with us. He like,
we wanted to save Hannah. We had to face our fears or something. And
Okay, we don't need to talk about it that much.
That's what we did.
We did
want us
what we
to
had to do.
explain. They want us to explain, so we're going to explain, because I'm not going to let Hannah get in trouble just because you guys don't want to talk about it. We walked in to the first room. It was Luke's room. Okay, we walked in, and Iris was there on the ground. She was terrified, absolutely petrified. She was there alone because Pierre wasn't there. He was gone. Because of the lack of consideration from the adults, Pierre was gone. So what are we supposed to do? Hannah's gone. Pierre is gone. Do you expect us to just walk out? Because no, we're not. We finished each and every one of our tasks, each and every one of our fears. Do you know how hard that was for us, for first years, to go through all of that? Do you understand? We finished all of our tasks. The man in the mask, the man in the hood, whatever he was in, he told us we had two choices. We either save Hannah or we go to him and put an end to all this. Iris went to save Hannah. The six of us went to him because we have to put an end to this somehow. We went to him, and guess what? We defeated him. He's gone now. He wasn't in the room anymore. We went through all of that. He's gone. We went through skeletons, literal skeletons coming from the ground. Do you understand how traumatizing this is? And then the day after, you guys bring us on to this room, show us Hannah, who's literally a hero, and then tell us that we might get in trouble for this. We might have consequences. That is not okay. We did so much, and y'all decided to show up after. There's no way we can get in trouble for this, and I will not stand for it at all.
As you say this, you get that from Ferg. He is very much having a hard time controlling how much he supports everything you all just said. At this kind of so far summation of the evening, Raketti, who's been consulting their notes, looks up and says, "Did at any point Miss Thomas inform you that she had been given a direct order to take you all back to the safety of the school?"
We knew.
I mean,
We all
we
knew.
heard
We chose to
her
go
radio.
All of us chose to do it.
So you were aware that when you made this decision, you were in defiance of an order.
Yes.
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 With all due respect, I think that you would have made the same decision.
At this point, Tara speaks. She says, Luna, thank you for your answer. At any point, did Miss Thomas tell you all to not join her?
She said we had the option to stay and go, I guess, to safety if we wanted, but none of us wanted to do that. We all wanted to help.
But she never gave you an order to stay.
Well, she fell into a hole, so I don't know if she really had the chance to, but...
We all had
Okay,
the
listen.
choice. She
told
did
us
give us the
at
option.
first. She told us to stay at first, but then, I mean, we all very clearly weren't going to let her go in by herself.
Yeah, she was just going to
So
test it, and then we were going to go in.
Yeah.
You put this group of people together. You should have known what we were going to do. We're not going to sit back.
Technically, it was safer for us to go with her, or else we would have been a bunch of 15-year-olds standing on the side of the road waiting for a car.
Roll a persuasion check with that one, Stevie. You're all going to get a chance to roll some as a group in just a second, but I specifically want one for that comment.
That was a 15.
As you say this, you hear Jade stifle a laugh. And it's not laughing at you, but laughing at like the solid logic of that comment. And she kind of shakes it out, puts her first cup of coffee down, reaches out, takes her second cup of coffee, and continues to just kind of hide in her hair. And you see her shoulders shaking just a little. At this, Rickety asks again, is there anything else you'd like to share at this point about your evening?
As terrified as I am of getting in trouble, I'm beginning to agree with what everyone is saying, really, and I think I should be speaking up more. So I say, I don't want to go into detail about like everything that we all went through, but I hope you know that like Elia almost drowned. We went through a lot. I respect you all greatly, and I respect the rules, but this doesn't seem fair.
Then I want to ask you about how you're delivering this. Is your intention as you deliver this to get them to understand the importance of what you did, or to have them understand the amount of risk you took to try to do this?
I think, can you say that again? I'm sorry.
Yes. I'm asking, do you want them to understand the risks you went through and the dangers you faced, or do you want to understand the importance of what you did?
I think the importance. Yeah.
Roll me a persuasion check, please.
Ooh, 17.
With this, Rickety, who has not reacted much at all, makes a definitive note on his paper, on their paper. Are you saying that Elia, I want to understand clearly, you're saying Elia almost drowned? What happened?
I look over at Elia. I don't know if he's comfortable.
In the game that the guy had us play, we all had to take turns, at least from what I'm assuming in my personal experience, go through what is our greatest fears. And for me, he stuck me in a tank and filled it up with water until I almost drowned.
Elia, roll me a performance check right now as you tell that story. I want to see how dramatically you're able to convey this. You're doing quite well as an actor. I want to see statistically how you're doing.
16.
As you say this part of the story and start to really establish the stakes that you all went through in these rooms, Tara perks up. Rickety continues to make notes on their paper. Ferg, who hasn't written anything down the entire time because you had him from the beginning, actually takes a pencil and just like strikes across his paper and drops his pencil. And even Rad looks at you, who hasn't said much. Rad says, was this something that all of you faced, this level of danger?
I mean, I had to kill a zombie version of myself and my dad, so I'd say yeah.
When you say this, Rad shakes his head and just drops it. And it's very much that, like, the feel you get from that is like, that is the worst thing someone could have done to you. Like, he understands you and your story and the trauma that must have caused you.
It made us all feel helpless.
Tara hasn't said much in a while, but has been watching the group, and is someone who is very empathetic. Looks to Moon and says, Moon, you have not said much. I don't want to press you to share your trauma, but if there's anything you'd like to say before we wrap up this conversation, I would like to hear it.
I basically felt double the fear of everyone because I was feeling Poison's fear along with my fear, and it was just very draining.
At this, You watch, and even from this distance, you can tell that Tara is very dramatically moved by hearing this. And you know that from your training with her that Tara has a similar companion or a companionship in her power that you do. And she now fully understands what you went through. And she too puts down her paper and her pencil and kind of sits back in her chair and looks to Hanata. Raketi takes the floor again and they say, is there anything else you would like to say at this point?
Yeah. When I was releasing Pierre from his bounds, the ropes that he was tied by, he almost, or well, how do I put this? He, as the dark figure was speaking to us, he was also mimicking the voices or what he was saying. He was mirroring the speech. And as he stopped, as the dark person,
No, I'm reacting in character for a character. You keep going.
Okay. And as he stopped talking, Pierre stopped talking, and a similar dark, cloudy aura that had been cast around the room was coming out of Pierre's mouth. So either maybe I don't want to seem too accusatory, but maybe Pierre was casting it, or the figure was draining the life out of him.
At this, all of the teachers check their notes. And Hanata speaks. She says, Alaya, that is quite, I'll be honest with you, quite terrifying. That level of dark magic we have not seen in quite some time. You're saying that Pierre was speaking after the dark figure.
Yeah, like a double speak, like an echo.
And the darkness left him after or at the same time as it left the dark figure?
Just after. Oh, wait. I think it was after.
I will add, Alaya, as a narrator outside of this space, that level of confusion is exactly how you should feel right now, this moment. Because in that moment, it was nearly impossible for you to tell. So do me a favor, roll me a persuasion check to set them to believe what you just said.
All of what I just said? Like that?
Just the ending, just that definitive just after.
Okay. 19.
Yeah, they all believe that is exactly how that happened. All right. And as you say this, Hanata holds out her hand like across the table, gesturing to the rest of the teachers. And she says, that is quite something for us to consider. We would like to take a break at this moment and then we will return to deliberate our decision, unless there's anything else you would like to say.
Could I add something about Pierre?
Yes.
Back at the beginning, when we had just kind of started patrolling, Pierre and I were kind of talking, and he was kind of talking about being really, really nervous. Like, I know he's kind of a nervous guy, but he was being like especially kind of nervous. He didn't really seem to, I guess, want to be there, and something was just off. I really can't describe it.
Was this nervous? Did you get a sense of fear from it?
A little bit. I was kind of on edge after hearing that. Well,
we will be speaking to the other team in just a few moments, so we will be asking Pierre about this. Was there anything else you would like to, any of you, add?
Before we got into fighting this dark figure person, he said something about using our fear for his power. Is that like a thing?
And the entire table of teachers all nod. And Anita says, this is something we've heard across several of our groups from last night, which is why we're interviewing so many of you this morning. But there is something brewing right now. Oh dear.
The other group, they were laying on the ground and they were looking up, and it was like they were seeing something that was scaring them. And I tried to cover their eyes, but it was like it was in their heads.
And the group again continues to nod. And at this, Tara speaks. And she says, this level of dark, ritualistic spellcasting is not uncommon for the followers of the darkness.
One more thing. Ever since then, I've been having this nightmare. It felt a bit too realistic. I tried to ignore it, but now reliving things in my head, I kind of maybe it's up to something. Do you think it means anything? Do you want to know?
Well, who's going to respond to this? I have to think, because I wasn't prepared for you to share.
Nightmares too.
I also had a nightmare.
Oh.
There's no way we had the same nightmare. That's not...
Wait, with the guy in the brain thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really hard for me to remember at first, but after a while, it was really clear.
Oh. Yeah, I'd say it means something. Yeah.
Now that you mention this, the teachers are now even more interested. And you say, this, Henita again addresses you. Well, it is quite common for students who go through such trauma to have nightmares, but it seems as if all of you may have had the same nightmare. Would one of you be willing to, if it weren't too traumatic, share with us a brief summary of what happens in this dream?
Luna, you probably remember it well, considering you don't sleep.
That doesn't mean I don't want to... That doesn't even make sense. How would we share a nightmare?
It is,
Not everything needs to make sense, Luna. I think you've understood that by now.
Sorry, it's just weird.
We can all do magic. I think a shared dream is one of the less weird things that's happened here.
As you all seem hesitant to share your dream, Tara speaks up at this point, and she says, given that you all have gone through so much emotionally, I think, and I would propose to the committee, that we all have individual conversations with you about this dream, and then we can discuss what we've learned. I don't want to force you all to have this sort of conversation in front of a group if you're not comfortable.
Are you guys comfortable? I might just need help like filling in gaps.
Yeah, I think we're okay.
Fine with anything.
All right. So I just want to clarify as the DM that you're all agreeing to have this conversation later, one-on-one with your guild leaders. Cool. So then Raketti, again, will address the group and say, well, that is quite a bit more than we were expecting to get. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we deliberate? All right. I'm now going to ask everyone in the room who all shared something at this point, which is all of you, to roll me a persuasion check, please. And I'm going to go around and call your names and ask you to share what you got. And whenever one of you is ready, if you can just wave, I'll start with you, and then I'll go around the horn. Stevie, what did you get?
19.
Oh, start us off high. All right. Zamora, are you ready?
Dirty 20.
Nice. Thank you. Wowza. Okay. Moon?
20.
Lord, when I want you to roll low, you're rolling very high. All right, Luna?
Don't worry, I rolled low. I got 6.
All right. Laya?
I also got 6.
Okay. And Luke?
12.
Wonderful. All right. Those numbers are going to come into play in just a second. But first, Hanata stands and reminds you all, the committee will take our break now. Then we will return to deliberate. As she says this, most of the teachers move to stretch, get some more coffee, get another pastry. But you watch Jade leave the room, her hands jammed into her pockets and her head hung low, and are again pulled into a memory of last night. Filter switch. All right. Standing by the Jeep, you spend some time watching the house, and little happens. Tara and Dakota stand fast, watching the front door and the space around the house. Hanata, tonight, in jeans and a flak jacket over a white dress shirt, the pockets of her jacket filled with various items and her pugo sheathed at her hip. She moves about coldly, watching, occasionally answering calls on her radio that's strapped to her vest, in a voice filled with authority and the confidence of a studied strategist. At one point, the team that you watched go in returns from inside the house, carrying the students that were still in the attic. As they do this, Jade comes around the back of the Land Cruiser and says, Reaper's going to drive Hannah back to up in the Land Cruiser. The rest of you are with me in the Jeep. Her voice is cold and detached as she walks around to the other side of the Jeep. What did you do at this point?
Got in the Jeep, no questions asked.
Same.
I followed her and got shotgun.
Same here. I just went into the Jeep.
I squeezed in the middle of the Jeep because, the shortest always gets the middle.
Who is sitting, because there's 6 of you, in the back without a seatbelt on? Because there's not room for 6 people with a seatbelt in a Jeep.
Definitely me.
You like that leg room, don't you?
Yeah.
The drive from where you are back to the academy is 30 minutes, and Jade is completely silent the entire drive. She's very obviously, without even an insight check to check it, in her head about something as you pull into the academy parking lot. Then, while still staring straight forward, she says, what you all did was reckless and dangerous. You're recruits, and you defied orders. Hanata will deal with a lot of you tomorrow, and I'm sure your guild leaders will also. For now, go to your rooms and go to bed and tell no one about what you saw this evening until you have debriefed with Hanata in the morning. And then before any of you can react, without saying another word, she gets out, slamming the door behind her, and begins the hike to the Medusa Guild Hall. Anyone who wants to right now can roll a perception check. Moon, I saw that. Yes, what'd you get?
Crit.
Nice. You were going to get all of the information.
I
Let's see.
11.
Stevie and Luke with below 10. So you are going to get this information and only this information. As Jade walks away, you can tell that she is angry. Her spine is rigid. Her steps crunch hard the gravel below her. And her hands jammed into her pockets. Looks like Zamora, Luna, and Alaya are going to get this next chunk, in addition to obviously what you just saw. You notice as she's walking in this angry state, her right hand leaves her jacket pocket at one point, goes up to her face, moves across it, and then is thrust back into her jacket pocket. With your crit, Moon, you notice that before she slammed the door, you heard a very silent sniffle. After your brief flashback, we come back. You're all scrambling to switch your filters. To the guild hall. You watch Jade now, just as hunched and defeated as last night. You notice her toss something onto the ground and crush it under her boot, and then come back to the grand hall. As she passes you, you can roll another perception check, if you would like. You don't have to. Luke got the target number, so you're going to get this information. Stevie won't. That's fine, Luna. Luke's going to be the only one who catches this, which I think is actually not a surprise. Luke, as Jade walks past you, you notice the smell of cigarette smoke waft past as she returns to the food table, pours 2 more cups of coffee, and returns to the teacher table. As she returns, Rad takes out his white wand and waves it about and utters a word, and there is a pop. Stevie, you instantly recognize this. You've seen him do this before. This is the same silent spell that he used in your house to keep your mom from hearing the conversation that the two of you had. The teachers then begin to talk in this silent bubble, but you cannot hear their words. You can definitely watch as they occasionally look at you. At one point, Ferg slams his fist onto the table, which is almost comedic when it's completely silent. And he's a very tiny man in stature, but not in size. He's a wide guy. Regularly, they all look to Raketti, and Hanita for some sort of comment or response. Then they respond back. Jade sits the entire time and says very little. Tara debates the whole thing politely, almost as calm and logically as Raketti and Hanita seem to be doing. And Rad regularly refers to the documents in his folder. Are you doing anything at this point as you watch them?
I just say, "What? Why can't we hear them? What the heck?"
It's a silencing spell. They can hear each other. We just can't hear them.
Oh.
And I'm absolutely trying to read their lips.
Roll me a. I'm going to go with an intelligence check, just a general intelligence check, to see if you're able to get any of this.
21.
Oh, Lord. Who are you focusing on? Who are you trying to understand? Because I don't think you can get everything from everyone. But with a 21, you're going to get like an entire side of this conversation. What was that?
Hanita.
Hanita is very much leading this conversation. She's getting responses from everyone in the group. She's feeding back questions to them as if playing a sounding board. A lot of what she's saying is things like, but they managed to be successful in doing this. But we cannot forget that they did break an order. These sorts of things. So she's guiding the conversation along. You don't get much of an emotional connection to what she's saying or either side of the argument. You get the full logic stream here. All right. Anyone else doing anything as this bubble is up?
I'm just staring blankly at the teachers. My hands are like in fists. Like I'm trying not to be overwhelmed with emotion because I'm just too cool for emotion. But these past couple of days, these past couple of hours, just a lot has been going through my mind. It's kind of overwhelming.
And it's been a long time. It's creeping up onto lunchtime at this point. So as you all sit watching, you watch as the teachers all return to their seats. Raketti stands in front as if prepared to address you. Rad pulls out his wand, waves it. You hear that pop again, and you can hear everyone. Raketti then addresses you. It is customary in these situations for the committee to take into account the whole story, and your guild leaders work as your advocate and judge. They argued for you and the collective consequence. It is also within their purview to dole out individual consequences to those in their charge should they see it necessary. It is my responsibility to share the committee's decision for the collective group, representing the debt you must repay to the larger school community. For the infraction brought against Argonaut Hannah Thomas, for violating a direct order from her superior, resulting in her own injuries and the direct threat to the lives of the recruits put in her charge. The committee finds that while her intentions were pure, her leadership was suspect, and by defying orders, she weakened the chain of command and put other students at risk. As a consequence, the committee had intended to strip her of her guild captain title. But as that is not an option, after the events of late last night or early this morning, the committee has decided that once you are fully healed, you are to spend every Saturday for the rest of the year volunteering in the infirmary so that you may understand the results of acting brashly. To the recruits who stood suspect of breaking ranks and following a leader who was in direct defiance of an order. Again, you have found to have had sound intention, but poor judgment. The consequence of this is that since you all are so eager to carry out your right as an Argonaut to be heroes, we want you to be more prepared to do such things. So you will be spending the next few Saturdays in combat training to prepare you to be better heroes. Should you be successful in this training, since you are all so eager, we will put you up higher on the list of students to actually go out and be heroes. This is not a reward for your decisions, but simply us understanding that this is something you want to do and preparing you to do it. Each one of you will train with an instructor that is decided by us in the hopes that you are better able to answer the calls of battle. Thus stands the decisions of the committee. At this time, the individual teachers will share their comments if they have any. Ferg stands first and quickly. Oi, if I could give you an award for your bravery, and this punishment is something I fought for and approved of, because it's not a punishment for you. You're heroes in my book. You are brave, but if you're going to be as brave as you think you are, you need to be stronger. I do not have reign over all of you, but look, you get no further punishment from me, boyo. The Guild of the Dragon stands by your choice, and I, for one, am proud of you. At this, as Ferg sits, Tara stands and says, Luna and Moon, it is my belief that the harmony of our school is much like that of nature. The choice you made is like that of a forest fire. It may be destructive, but it may also do good over time. Your only added consequence from me is that you spend some time working to put back some good into the world to subvert the evil that the darkness raised last night. This is something that you will do with Groundsmaster Rockbreaker. Rad stands and looks to Stevie. You faced the darkness and did not fall, but clearly it has a hold on you. Your consequence is not a punishment, but a need that I know you realize. You will begin private tutoring with me and Dripa on how to avoid the call of the darkness, for clearly you have a connection to it. This is in preparation for when you face it again. That is all he says, and sits back down. Jade stands, her voice weak and pained. Elia and Zamora, you were brash and irresponsible. Elia, you almost died. I failed you, and I left you weak. You each will add further training with myself on your skills and with Ricchetti on how to think more logically in dangerous situations. This will continue until the end of the semester. She then sits down, unable to speak any further. Finally, Henita rises. This is the decision of our committee. Do you have any further comments or statements before we close this debrief and move on?
I'm just gonna make very excited eye contact with Ferg and kind of look at him like, you're a real one.
I'm gonna make eye contact with Hannah and just be like, I'm sorry.
Anyone else? It's around noon now, and you finished and are heading out. On your way out, you pass Reaper, who pushes through you to Hannah, and sitting on the stairs outside the guild hall, where you all met at the start of yesterday, sits the entire collection of the group that you know as Incline South, the group you saved. They're sitting and looking terrified as they await their turn in the guild hall. As the last members of your team exit, Lex comes out, looks up from their clipboard, and says, okay, inside Incline South, you're up. You may head into the Grand Hall. Slowly, like prisoners to the gallows, the members of Incline South rise and pass you all to head into their own debrief. And that is where we wrap up for this evening. Join us next week as the recruits try to put the events of Halloween behind them. What will their lives be like now? How are they going to adjust to this added addition to their class load? Will we ever get answers about what happened in the House of Darkness? What exactly happened with Hannah? Tune in next week to discover all this and more on Argonauts Awoken.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.